Welcome, everybody, to another User Spotlight. My name is Steve Drost. With me, as always, Will Kaplan. Of course, Will and I, both from the Quivr CRM team. And Will, what is the entire purpose of Quivr? It is to help advisors run their practice at peak efficiency without the quality of service dropping even an inch. And our guest today, Will, I'm going to be honest, you know her better than me.
Yeah, we've gotten to be friendly through, I think, the best, my favorite way to interact with Quivr users, which is when they say, hey, I need some help. And we get to say, awesome, that's what we're here for. And come in and try to make their lives easier, try to make it simpler for them to serve clients and do the work that they need to do. And, all of the reasons that you and I started using Quivr and Salesforce in the first place.
No, I love it. It is fun, right? We like to solve puzzles. It's no different than working with clients. But without further ado, today we have Danielle Barbato, who's an advisor at Milestone Asset Management Group, who's been a firm with Quivr for years now.
Mm-hmm.
And Danielle, I'd love to hear from you who you are, what your role is, how you got to Milestone, how you met us, the whole gambit.
Yeah, so I am a CFP. I've been in the industry for maybe 7 or 8 years now. I joined Milestone almost 2 years ago, and I'm an advisor here with the founder, Mike. We basically we try to be a very tax-heavy, tax-efficient forward firm, but we do everything under the sun for clients. So overall asset management, estate planning, tax planning, we cover it all here.
Love that. I think I'd interacted with Mike a little bit. I know Steve has been interacting with Mike for a long time through, another organization. I guess we don't have to keep that a secret. That's probably common knowledge that Steve and Mike are both in AGC. But we got friendly with this firm, I think, early on. I remember when I joined Quivr, they were already here. And it's one of those firms that I think, like many firms that we work with, don't totally know what Salesforce can do, don't totally understand how much you can customize it or how it can solve problems within the practice. And so that's definitely where this originated. Danielle, were you part of that? I remember I don't remember if Mike reached out or if we had some conversation or if we saw something that he had maybe posted in AGC or something, but basically you guys were struggling with a particular part of the business, looking for solutions. Is that right?
Yeah, the specific issue that kind of spearheaded this entire thing with you guys was we do a lot of Roth conversions for our clients. And we don't like to do kind of what the big wheelhouse firms do, where they just push all the Roth conversions through at the end of the year. We try to be a little bit more strategic with it throughout the year. So right now the firm has $310 million under management. I don't even know how many households. I want to say we're around $1.5 million per household on average. So a lot of households. And if you're doing strategic conversions throughout the year for that many households, it just became too much of a cluster eventually we were going to drop the ball somewhere. And we really were we were starting to grow heavily last year, and we knew that we were going to bring more people on soon. So we wanted to have a process in place where someone could really just adapt and plug into and not be overwhelmed with the Roth conversion process. So we're a bunch of problem solvers here, for better or for worse. So we started getting into Quivr ourselves first because you guys are our CRM system. We really enjoy having you as our CRM systems. Like to have had our solution be there, but to Will's point, we were having a really hard time kind of understanding how, and it was our own detriment. We just didn't know what we didn't know, really. So we started reaching out to other firms and other places, and we liked a couple of other ideas and solutions that people had, but it was just another software that we were going to bring in where we were already happy with you guys. So Mike had reached out to AGC and had just said, does anyone have any softwares that they recommend for this type of problem that we're having? And then Steve, I think you reached out immediately and got on with us on a Zoom and kind of talked us through, you at first wanted to make sure that you had a good understanding of what our problem actually was, and then explained to us that you guys can solve it. And it was actually in the works, I think. You guys were starting to create the Roth conversion record at that time. And we just got lucky and were able to help you build it out, is how it ended up happening.
And that little piece that you said at the end there is my favorite part of this is a lot of our Steve and I have done this for long enough that we've worn a lot of hats, sat in a lot of seats, have a pretty good understanding of most of the bigger milestone type objects and projects that people need for their advisory firms. But like, you guys had very specific, this is how we want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And so the benefit of like getting to talk to you about this is, as we are building out this object specifically for Roth conversions, which is now in Quivr, and like, everybody out there that is a Quivr user sort of has it, but like, we were able to sort of say like, oh, okay, I see how you want to use it. We need to sort of tweak it just a little bit in order to make it like capable of handling very specific the way that you want to do this. And I think you're right. Like, most firms, I would say, probably do all of their Roth conversions. I mean, I know that's how I did it when I was practicing. Like, we did it just kind of like, wait till we get as much tax information as we have for the entire year, figure out what the conversion needs to look like, talk with the client, done in one step, like super easy. That's not how you guys do that's not how you serve your clients.
Mm-hmm.
And so we need to sort of give you the bones and the foundation, but then also allow for a little bit of extra customization, where I think, your Roth conversion object is probably 80% similar to like what everybody has. And then you've got just like a couple of extra little fields that sort of better serve your needs and the needs of your clients. And it's just specific to, you do it differently.
Totally. And that was also another huge learning curve in the process that we found out, is that the amount of customization that's available to the records that you guys have built out. So the foundation is there, and then it's almost, I don't want to say endless and give you guys a whole list of jobs to do, but it's, you guys are very flexible with what we can add and what makes sense for us, and kind of, we're able to use internal terminology in the records that you guys are creating, which again just makes it easier when we eventually bring on new people and they can just plug and play. And then the second big thing, which I think you were alluding to, was the dashboards and how that tied into the actual records, because the records are so helpful in so many ways, in terms of where we are for a specific person in the year, what we're expecting for them in terms of tax planning and Roth conversions. And then the direct links to, we use Fidelity as a house. So a direct link to Fidelity and Holistiplan and all of our other softwares. So it's really a centralized point, but it's only for that one person. If we want to know where my clients are, where Mike's clients are, if he's out one day and I need to, convert for him, or vice versa, anywhere in the firm, we can go to each other's dashboards. And that's where it really got customizable for us. And it was a little bit of, you guys had to help us out a lot in terms of building those out and kind of learning how. But once we knew the process, we were really able to tailor our dashboards to how we wanted them. And now we're able to look at, okay, it's a down market day. I know I have conversions to do today. Let me pull up my entire client base and I can see exactly where everyone is and what I need to do in one spot. And then I can open up from there, taking you guys through our whole process, but I get excited about it. I can open up each record from that dashboard. And then that helps me again internally, because we have so many softwares already. So I can open up one client's records, and then within my Quivr record, I have all of my other softwares linked to it. So I have one window open with just one client. So I know that I'm looking at this client's Roth conversion record and not, another client's Roth conversion record while I'm in client B's Fidelity account, So the whole process was almost exactly what we were looking for. We just didn't know that you guys had it so readily available.
I have a couple of questions. So what you're doing then is, so me, for example, right? I still practice.
Mhm.
I don't do any conversions until I know the tax information. So there's some clients we will do conversions earlier in the year if we know their, we know their Social Security, pension, things like that, and we just know what their income is going to be more or less. So we'll do it earlier in the year. But yeah, for a lot of people, we do it later because I want the full tax history. I want to see recent pay stubs, that kind of thing.
Mm.
Like you guys are doing is not that. You're actually doing, like, maybe in the beginning of the year, you're saying this client, we're going to target $100,000 of conversions. Is that fair so far? You're going to
Correct.
target it. And then what you'll do is during the course of the year. So as of the recording, we're 2 months, we're basically a month from the low from the Iran war starting.
Right.
Does that mean that when the market was down 10 to 15%, you then want to do a whole bunch of Roth conversions when the market is down?
That's right. For example, last year in 2025, the big market down days were also in April.
Tariffs. Yes.
Right. So we usually end the year with a projection of what next year is going to look like. A lot of our clients are close to retirement age too, so there's a lot of transitions going on. Either, they're losing income or they're
Hmm.
going part-time, or maybe they're getting like a final year bonus payout or something. So there's a lot of moving pieces in terms of income at the end of the year. So we'll project and get our target, and then we kind of restrict ourselves to a certain percentage of that target throughout the first quarter of the year. Usually by March, people are getting their raises, they're getting their bonuses paid out. And then that's when we also tax season, obviously, for 90% of people will get their tax returns and their pay stubs in April. And then we really tie up a lot of our conversion numbers by then. We mean quarterly. Within each quarter, we ask for pay stubs just to make sure, no one won the lottery or anything in the time that we saw them last, or they were wrong with what they were telling us with their income. We do, the past 2 years, April has been huge in terms of our conversions. 2025, we did probably 70% of our conversions in April.
Dang. So at the end of the year, you're preparing for estimated amounts for the following year. And then what I'm getting from this is I heard a quote maybe 10 years ago where if as a financial planner, whether you're doing something for your client or you're doing something for your business, if you're doing it in Excel, you shouldn't be. And
Mm.
it should be in your system. It should be in your CRM. Now, of course, some things that's borderline impossible. But what I'm hearing here is maybe you used to have a spreadsheet for every client that tracked expected conversions, amounts, year to dates, conversions, all of that. And you're essentially taking that spreadsheet, you're putting it into Salesforce, into Quivr, and you're having all of that raw data, which you now know, right? I want to do this much of a conversion for this client. You're able to track how much you have done. You're able to track how much you want to do. You're able to have links to Holistiplan, their tax return, Fidelity, and all of that. So it sounds like you have a singular screen with every single piece of data you'd ever want for that client's Roth conversion for the given year. Is that correct?
That's right. And also it was, sometimes clients will switch from how they pay taxes for the Roth
Yeah.
conversion. So they'll start paying taxes outside of the conversion amount. And then either we run out of assets in that account or something happens where we don't want to touch that account again. We'll switch to pulling the withholdings from the actual conversion. So all of that was on one sheet. And then we kind of transferred into Quivr's projects.
Hmm.
We were running projects for each client, and then it just got, everything was there, but it was messy, because if we did 3 or 4 conversions already on the year and we're in October and we have a review coming up, we're kind of reading it like, "Okay, what the heck happened here?" I know it's all accurate because I spent half an hour on one conversion, earlier in the year, but have no idea what any of this is saying at this point.
But now you have that singular screen. And then the dashboards for people here who aren't familiar with what dashboards are, imagine any KPI, any tracking of any process, any figure, any data that you want to see, you can query that and have it be in a very aesthetically pleasing page. So I'm going to take a guess here. You can tell me how I'm wrong, not if I'm wrong, because I know I'm going to be wrong. But I have a feeling you're going to have a single page then that shows you every single person that hasn't started, every single person that's done, every single person that we still need to do a certain amount. And you're just going to have that screen. So let's say at the end of March, early April of 2026, when the market was way down, you were able to go to that dashboard and just see, oh, these are people that I still need to do conversions for. And you could click on that, and then you would see a list of the 50 households that you want to do, a strategic conversion for at this point in time. Is that correct?
Pretty close. Yeah. Every advisor has kind of the same dashboard base where we have, okay, this is how many conversions we did last year or households. This is how many we plan to do this year. So we know if there's a discrepancy, we can say why. Are we missing one, or did someone end their conversions, or did we add someone, whatever, just to make sure we're not missing anyone. And then we have it broken out based on how are they paying tax, how much is remaining in their conversions. And then, like Will was saying, I like the little gauge demographic, or what is that? The gauge graphic in the dashboards that kind of tells you how close you're getting to your total conversions being done, because I like to hold a little bit of wiggle room for quarter 4. So I don't want the gauge to be 90% done. But then when you get to each advisor, the titles can be different on the projects, or I'm sorry, on the records. So I'll say, the Smiths Q4, which means, if there's a down day and I go into my list, and I'm in Q2, I'm not going to click on the Smiths because they have a small conversion amount. I'm not going to touch their conversion amount until Q4 when we have pay stubs and whatever. But someone else like Mike can build out something where his titles are different. But if you click into it, it has the same uniform record for everyone.
And then the advisors are getting the data that they need to then implement the conversions they want to implement at the time that they want.
Exactly.
I can't help but immediately go to the mindset that this process of how you're doing this is applicable to probably, I don't know, most, if not every financial planning topic that we provide to our clients, right? RMDs are the exact same. When do you want to do the RMDs? Do you want to do them in up market, down market, beginning of the year, end of the year? Do you want to see your little gauge to know who's done,
Yeah,
who's not
right.
done? You wanna have the singular screen that shows you how much the RMD is, what the withholding is, if they're paying taxes, how so, right? How you're like, for me, I notice a lot of my clients actually, we don't mess around with withholding for Social Security. So we actually we over withhold on RMDs to account for Social Security withholding. It's just easier to deal with Schwab than it is to deal with the Social Security Administration, right? So how do I remember that, even though they're in the 12% bracket, I need to withhold 20% because, I'm accounting for Social Security. But right, you think about that record per every single client, the spreadsheet for every client, give me a dashboard to show me, of my 75 clients or 150 clients, who's done with their RMDs. IRA contributions, the exact same thing. Backdoor Roth IRA contributions, the exact same thing. I mean, you have these 5 to 15 things you're doing for your clients. Just give me a page with the data for that person, and then give me a page with the data for my entire client base. To me, it works. It just makes sense.
That's our next step actually, is to start integrating it with RMDs. And then I think we're talking about like charitable donations next, investment strategies. When we get a new client, we don't want to reallocate any taxable accounts right away. It's kind of like an ongoing thing. That's on our list to do. It's really, at the risk of using the term too often in this conversation, but it really has just opened up a whole new world of possibilities.
And that's like, we have conversations so often where we talk about like, whether it's really, I guess it's really whether it's any tool, but I think it's really specific to Salesforce too in general, because Salesforce is it's such a massive tool. There's so many things that it can do that you have to sort of get up onto the plateau of knowledge where it's like, okay, I've used it long enough. I've seen it, like I've seen kind of around how it can run certain things in my business. And I can take that information I learned, how to create a record, how to add a custom field to one of the objects that we've got in there. How do I build a report? How do I group those reports into a dashboard? And like, once you get all of those little pieces of knowledge and you put them together, that's when I sort of define like, okay, you've climbed up onto the plateau and now you can just sort of go in any direction that you want for, the horizon is the limit because to Steve's point, I can apply this to RMDs. I can apply it to QCDs now. I can apply it to, all these other types of things that we do for our clients. And it's the same, like you're using the same toolkit. You've got a record, you've got a report, you're grouping it all up onto a dashboard. And in this case, like time is of the essence. The market is down. At some point, the market's going to close. You're not, you have a limited time to sort of perform this action. And if it's spent digging through all of your data, that hurts that you acutely feel that pain because it's like, I need to be getting onto the next household. I need to be doing the next Roth conversion. I don't have time to go hunt for all this data. That to me is where the dashboard is so powerful. And so like, I always was afraid when I was practicing that I was going to miss an RMD. And I felt like that was such a big deal because the penalties are so severe if you miss one. And so I was always panicked. I was like, okay, I've got to get like really good reporting around this where I've got a record that I have high confidence in. And then I've got some type of a dashboard or a list or something where I can see them all and know like, here's the ones you haven't done. Don't forget about these. And also feel confident that like that list is accurate, that I know that I've got all the ones. Like, I think you said this earlier in the conversation, Danielle, about how like you're comparing how many we did last year with how many we're doing this year. And if those numbers are different, I want to know why. That's exactly what I was doing with RMD records. I was like, well, here's everything I processed last year. Here's everything I'm processing this year. Why are they different? One of those accounts went away, like we consolidated it or, something like that. And just to know that I'm not missing anything. I'm not forgetting anything. that to me was huge too.
Yeah, I mean, God forbid you have a meeting on a market down day and you're losing, or you have two meetings, you're losing 1 to 2 hours. And it was a lot of the fear of dropping the ball somewhere. Either I didn't get to everyone that deserved to be gotten to that day, or I did it too quickly. I might have missed something, or I might have pushed the wrong button somewhere. I was in, I don't know. You know how you just start thinking like that when you're in the throes of it. So,
If it's close to the close of the market, you rush things. Been there. You forget
exactly.
to hit submit on the trade blotter. Been there.
Well, and like that was one of the coolest things about this particular project is we discovered that like, and Schwab does not do this, but Fidelity, they set up their links into Wealthscape in such a way that like we have static links to the field, to the pages that she needed to go click into to actually perform the action that she needs on this conversion. And so it was really easy. Like we could just basically put in a URL field and drop in a link to that client's page in Fidelity. And like you click the link and it's like single sign on, it just opens up and you're at the place you need to be and move on to the next thing. And it's like one less thing that you have to go look up or type in. We always try to, we talk about how we want to like try to make Quivr less clicky. This is a kind of an example of that where like we were able to kind of reverse engineer these URLs. And so now you're on a record in Quivr for this thing and you click on, take me to Wellscape and I'm there and I'm on the right page. Like we do that for Holistiplan too. And it's just like, it's like a little small change, but once you start using it over and over and over, you're like, oh, that's really nice. I like that. I appreciate not having to go all over the place for this thing. Oh,
Yeah, you just do it once and then you don't really have to worry about it afterwards.
yeah, it's there forever. Yeah, that's it exactly. Love it. Danielle, as you've gone through this process, what was kind of the biggest surprise?
Good question. The biggest surprise was probably how customizable everything was able to be. Because I know, well, we've had conversations where I get on a call with you and I just say, all right, I have another idea. I don't think you could do it, but let me know. And then you'd be like, oh, that's actually not too crazy. Also, I mean, this was not really a surprise, but it's just such a huge deal to us when we're so growth focused right now. The fact that if we just spent some time on the front end and then it would be universal, like I just keep saying, like literally the rest of the advisors at the firm just log in. It takes them 5 minutes to learn how to navigate the thing and they can use it. So when we hire someone, we train them on how to use it, and it's just the same process for everyone. It makes it easier. We've talked about this too, well, where it'll make it easier for managers to be able to track, where someone is in conversions or what was done and, things like that. So if a ball still does get dropped somewhere, because it will eventually, we can find exactly what happened and mediate it easier.
Yeah, it's really nice, especially like as you continue to grow and scale. This is a process that is like the process itself is very structured. When you implement the process is totally random,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Right.
And so the idea that like, I forget where Mike went. Mike was like gone for a while. Did he go to Europe? Is that what it was? Where
I'm
was
sure.
he?
Who
He
knows?
was someplace like phenomenal. And I was like,
It's
man,
all,
I'm jealous.
yeah.
But like the idea that I want to be able to go on vacation, like I want to go to that beach vacation. But if I know that there's like this critical business process and I'm the only one that understands how it works, I can't do that. But I know that if I have a dashboard built that Steve understands because he uses the same dashboard, then like if I'm out of the office, Steve can do the work that needs to be done for me. And if Steve's out of the office, I can do the work that needs to be done for him because we're using the same starting point and the same information is being reflected back to us. I may have a little bit of, customization on my dashboard where I'm looking at some reports that he doesn't have, but like the core of this process,
Mm-hmm.
who needs to do a Roth conversion? How much do they have left? How much are we targeting for the year? All of those dashboards are probably going to contain some iteration of that data. And so like if I need to pick someone else's work up and run with it because they're out or they're sick or they want to go to a soccer game with their kids,
Mm-hmm.
like we have that coverage because we're looking at sort of the same data in roughly the same ways, as opposed to a lot of places. It's just like, well, yeah, I do Roth conversions and I get into Holistiplan and I look at these fields and then I take that and I plug it in over here. And I don't know where I keep my spreadsheets or I don't know where Steve's spreadsheets are. Like this just unifies all of that work in a way that gives you the ability as you continue to scale your firm to provide really good coverage for each other too, which I think is phenomenal.
Totally. I agree.
Love that.
Danielle?
Steve, do you have anything else that you want to?
I don't. Danielle, thank you so much for joining us. I think my biggest takeaway is for those of you that are listening that are Quivr users, if there's a specific function or service that you're performing for your clients or on your business, and you're looking at other pieces of technology to complement Quivr, start with us. Come to us first. The Roth conversion tool was in Quivr. You guys obviously over at Milestone helped us make it better. But come to us because most of the things that you're doing, we have users on the platform that are already doing just that. So let us point you in the right direction, get you to the masterclass, help you get you started, and really show you how you can use Quivr as a platform, right? Is it a platform meant to adapt to your business? And if you're not a Quivr user, that's okay. Nobody's perfect. Everybody makes mistakes. But remember, it's not too late. Just like Milestone, we're growing as well. So come schedule a demo, come hang out with me, come hang out with Will, and see what Quivr can do for you in your practice.